news recap. Let's go over it. This is what I got for the most important stuff. This says of 6 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 Pacific. Trump DEI hires paid leave. So he has given DEI hires paid leave. I'm not sure what that means or how they
He
plan on
plans to fire them.
identifying. Hmm?
He plans to fire them.
I know, but what is he just going to go after everybody with some marginalized group?
Everyone
Like, what's
black. I
the
don't know.
what's that's very clearly discriminatory practices.
That is.
Like,
Well, that's why
you
he
know,
revoked the executive order that protected them of firing them on the basis of race. So what he's going to do is identify people based on certain characteristics, if they look brown enough, if they look disabled enough, if they look woman enough, and fire them effectively.
that's
That's
still
kind of
part.
what it is.
It's still discriminatory practices though
Well, he
under
can
federal
do that
law.
now because he got rid of that.
But well, yeah, he got rid of the federal directive, but it's still illegal. So I'm kind of interested to know how that's going to play out. Very clearly, it's symbolic, but yeah, he can. It's still subject to federal law. It's just is anybody going to
Hmm.
enforce it, and
And
who's
how
going to
would it be
sue over it?
enforced?
Right. You're seeing the lapses in our system now. Oh, we're so fucked. Um, so there's that. Which reminds me of actually, I wanted to get into this. There was a video that was posted on TikTok, and this guy just recorded it, happened to record it from a live stream. And basically, it cut off, right? They were like, okay, business is done here in terms of like what's going on. He goes, we still have one more, whatever. It's just kind of confusing. And the cameraman's still recording after Donald Trump signing all these things, and it's kind of chaotic. And apparently, it had to do with Martin Luther King, some sort of proclamation, and Trump wouldn't sign it, and nobody knows what it actually was.
I think
So
it had to do
was
with
it?
declassifying the MLK files.
Is that the one? Well, I mean, he talked about that, but I haven't seen
Hmm.
any verification on it. He was supposed to do this shit last time, remember? He
I
promised
know.
last time
That's
to
why it's
do it.
probably that.
Maybe. I mean, he said he was
Put
going
it
to
on
release
my
the Epstein
desk.
files. He said he was going to release the Epstein
True.
files, right?
That's not happening. No.
Where are those? Can Mega
Let me
come in
take a
here and
look at
tell
it
me where that
first.
is?
I need
Let
to
me. I
make a
just.
few
This is my
corrections.
day. Let's. He just crosses out
All right,
Trump and
there you
puts
go.
Obama. Obama. Hunter Biden.
It's all right
He was
there.
there. It was
See?
him. He was. That was the deal. So yeah, he plans on firing whatever DI employees are. This is very clearly just like they're doing this. They're targeting people of color while Musk is out there doing a Yahtzee salute, and nobody is like, "Oh yeah, no, this is totally on par." You know what I mean? It would
Hmm.
be more surprising if he didn't do the salute at this point. Trump targeting state officials. So this was part of a larger thing that I wanted to do. The DOJ released a memo today saying that they were going to go after uh, local figures, state and local figures, that would not comply with Donald Trump's federal immigration policies. The way they do this is so roundabout, but basically it's to attempt to attack non enforcement of sanctuary cities, right? Or if Trump
Hmm.
goes too far and there are places that aren't sanctuary cities, but like, we're not enforcing this because this is criminal or this is too much civil liability or this is just flat out wrong, they're trying to go after these people for obstruction, conspiracy, and a litany of other charges. They're literally just like, we're going to throw shit at you. And what's crazy about it is when you read their justification, the justification basically is this law dictates what a undocumented immigrant is. If they are in violation of this law, and this is where it gets really, really weird. If they're in violation of this law and you are, then you're in violation of this law. If they're in violation of this law, then you're in violation of this law. And the law was 1253C, I think. And the law basically says that state and local officials they can help federal officials if deemed and brought in by the federal government. And so they can go out and do whatever, if the DOJ signs off on it. And Trump is basically saying, no, this is not a law that says that they can help. This is a law that compels them to do it. So basically, they're saying if this person is an undocumented immigrant and you're an official that's not enforcing this law that has nothing to do with you being forced to enforce it, then we're going to charge you with criminal conspiracy. We're going to charge you with obstruction of justice, and we're going to come after you personally. So they basically just bastardize the law to try and target people. And so this kind of seems to be the theme of the Trump administration, that they're planning on targeting people on an individual level and attempting to get people to
Mm-hmm.
concede. I think that they think this
Yes,
is the easiest
criminalizing
way to
dissent.
do it. Right. Criminalize dissent, criminalize anybody to do it. And if you're a Republican watching this and you're like, oh, that doesn't sound so bad, states' rights, right?
Mm-hmm. No, they don't believe in that. Only when it comes to red
Constitution, right?
states.
Because the Constitution's, as per the Supreme Court, is clear on this. You do not have a duty to act as an official. There's only one crime, really, that there is a federal mandate duty to act, and that's DV. That's the only one. Everything else, serial killer, murderer, whatever, there's no duty to act. Simply with DV is there a duty to act. And so he's trying to make a duty to act out of a law that has nothing to do with it, and then saying if you don't go through with it, we're going to come after and charge you with criminal conspiracy. The way that they got to this was so absolutely absurd and such a just flagrant bastardization of the Constitution. It's indefensible. If you're law and order, you should like law and order. You should not like whatever this is, which is making up laws to go after people that dissent with you. So I think this is pretty much going to be the playbook of the Trump administration: target people on a personal level, and hope that other people comply. I hope that there's enough resistance to stop it, but this seems to be the plan of the Trump administration currently. I will say, I I thought they were going to be a lot more. I really thought they were going to do a lot better job with this, because
No.
this I mean I really did, because the stuff that they're writing up is very clearly just for intimidation purposes. And if this stuff was to ever actually go to court, this would never get signed off on. This would get shot down all the way up and down. This interpretation of the law would get shot down. There's just no way that you could say, oh, they had a duty to act, so you're going to make them complicit in the crime. Which is funny, because in my state, we had a law, I think it's 1639, which was lock your guns up. And if you're not in compliance with that law, and someone takes your gun and uses it for illegal purposes, you can be charged with felonies, which they were really, really, really opposed to, right? So, like, oh, you're going to make me complicit in the crime? And I'm willing to, by the way, that was mostly MAGA that was saying that, mostly Trump supporters. Now they're going to turn around and go, oh, how dare they? How dare they not follow through with that? They should be complicit in a crime. But you'll notice there's like a lot of, and I know that's a pretty weak comparison, all things considered, but you get the point. Like, if this was done,
Mm-hmm.
like, could you imagine if, like, Democratic governors were like, uh, by the way, if, like, Republican sheriffs don't enforce our law, we're going to arrest them for the crimes committed? They'd be like, you know what I mean? Just heads
Mm-hmm.
exploding. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be like the most horrific thing as of yet. It seems to be pretty weak and pretty ineffective. There will be more to come though, and it's going to be in the agencies, in the administrative law, where the damage is really done. Right now, this is a lot of symbolic shit to try and scare people. Is it going to work? I don't know. It's really going to depend on how robust the legal system is, and I want to say I don't have any faith in it. But also,
I
did
don't
eggs
either.
go down yet?
No,
I
they
feel like
actually
that would
went
be
up.
breaking news. They did. That's
So did
right. We checked
Netflix.
yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So did Netflix. So Donald Trump is removing the affirmative action and discriminatory hiring practices from LBJ. We talked about it a little bit ago. And basically, I think the craziest thing is that he didn't just get rid of affirmative action. He removed the executive order on discriminatory hiring, which is crazy. So it's not like he was
Which,
just like, "Oh, we don't like affirmative
right.
action." He's like, "No, we don't like not being able to have discriminatory hiring."
But doesn't that in and of itself create DEI? Because now if I'm an employer, and a black one at that, I could say that I don't want any white people to work for me. Is that not the case now? Can't I discriminate from hiring white people at this point?
Well, if you were in a federal government role, yeah. But I mean, it
Well,
would
there we
still
go.
but here's the thing is like you could imagine if it was like a federal employee that was like, I just think they're DEI hires, and they're like, they start firing a bunch of white people, then they'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Right.
We have to undo
Like,
this.
I know. It's so shocking to me that people that are so opposed to MLK's policies are out here saluting it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, but yeah, the law's a little bit complicated. He removed the executive order getting rid of affirmative action. Affirmative action still exists. Uh, like, they can't discriminatory hire. They're going to, and then say, well, we didn't know. And Donald Trump is no stranger to this. See his 1970s case from the DOJ where he was sued for discriminatory housing, right? He's just going to say, well, I didn't know, or nothing's going to happen to him because he's the president. They signed up for a whole shit show here. I kind of wonder, like, how long until the government just can't sustain, like, he just terrifies half the people out, and they're like, okay, cool, and then they just have a skeleton department running there for everything, like, just catastrophe. No, I wouldn't want to work in that. I wouldn't want
That's
to
what
work
they
in that
wanted.
environment.
It's what
Right,
they
how many
wanted.
days?
It's
I mean, I know
yeah.
that's what they wanted, but how many people are you going to find that are actually qualified to replace them that are ideologues? This has always been the problem, that you can't get these people in to do that because there's just not enough. So you have to go for unqualified people that are ideologues because smarter people don't go there. So you're going to have a bunch of dumbasses, literally idiocracy in the government,
Hmm.
making decisions, and people that don't have complete pictures. Like, we've talked about subject matter experts in here, right? And like, part of the thing is, like, I'm not a subject matter expert, so let's say some random conflict pops up somewhere around the globe that's has to do with, like, I don't know, really localized fighting between two for some pedantic reason, whatever. I may be able to go to the news and I may be able to look that up and I may be able to get a pretty good idea of what's happening, but I won't have the in-depth nature. All of those very ultra specific things that are going to make a difference in understanding a conflict or a region or what's happening, subject matter experts inherently know. They may analyze the data differently, but they're all at least starting with the same exact baseline. And you're just going to have people that, like, have no idea, right? They don't know. You know, like, if you think construction, because a lot of Trump supporters are construction, could you imagine sending a guy out that's just like loyal to, like, they all have him, like the dude that's loyal to the boss that sucks, that's somehow the fucking foreman, that doesn't know what he's doing? Like, everybody's seen him on job sites, right? Or in
It's
work or
counterintuitive.
whatever.
I mean,
Right,
their
it's
whole plight
detrimental.
against DEI is that they're unqualified and shouldn't be in those positions, while at the same time, this creates a situation where the people in place of DEI hires are themselves unqualified and unprepared for these jobs.
Exactly. And so then we we end up with DEI, a double
Just
DEI,
for
I
white
guess.
people, right?
Right. It's just like, we'll get rid of the DEI hires so we can bring actually unqualified people in here. You know what I mean?
That'll show them.
Actually in here. Yeah. Yeah. There's a .gov email for federal employees to rat out colleagues participating in DEI. It'd be a shame that inbox is flooded. I actually, yeah, I did get sent that email. That's crazy. Telling
I'm gonna
people to
report Pete
rat them
Hegseth.
out for report all the new hires. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just that would be crazy if, you know, that would
Yeah,
be
he's giving an
crazy.
opportunity to an alcoholic. I can't accept that.
I can't either. You know, that's definitely DEI. So obviously we had the Tennessee shooting that happened today. It's again obvious. What more can be said that hasn't been said at least 1,000 times at this point?
Hmm.
You know, I remember where I was when Sandy Hook happened and how devastating that was. I was hunting. I know the exact spot. I know exactly where I was. I remember to a T. I remember the whole thing. And it just flabbergasts me how we just watch it happen on a daily basis. And these people are like, don't touch my guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was
Could
one
you
today.
imagine? Could you imagine?
There's
This
one
is
in
how stupid
Nashville.
that. Yeah, that's the one we're talking about.
Hmm.
There's. Could you imagine how stupid this is? Like, oh my God, there was a mass stabbing. Don't touch my knives. What? What do you What do you mean?
And
I
like,
don't. That
how
would be
does one
dumb.
measure this with the fact that they want to get rid of red dye because of how it allegedly harms people, or fluoride in the water because of what it does to DNA or what have you, IQs, even though it doesn't, but not this that has persisted for decades or so and has unalived people at rates higher than fluoride has, at rates higher than red dye has?
Yeah.
So no.
No. Well, I don't know. It's just. It's a. I think the country's broken. Clearly, in people's brains, people are just not bright. You know.
Oh, not at
And
all.
it's. We live in a stupid society. Let's be real. Of a lot of really dumb people that just hold up big interests, in this instance, guns, and they're, it's sad that most Americans are behind gun reform. Like most, even on the right, they're behind gun reform, or cases of it, and we still can't get it done. And I think, as a gun owner, if you're not advocating for responsible gun ownership, you are just against your own rights. Because all that's happening is, and we're watching it happen across the United States. They're like, how the Democrats do these gun laws? How could this? Because you
Hmm.
motherfuckers wouldn't come to the table. Because you fucking guys sound nuts every time you open your mouth, and you're a bad representation of gun ownership. That's why. Because a bunch of people have listened to you talk about how you need 500 rounds to go into a fucking coffee shop and order your fucking self a frappuccino, right? And that doesn't sound sane. I need 1 billion rounds in case we're invaded. It just doesn't sound sane. And so, like, if I'm a Democrat that knows nothing about guns, and you're just like, I'm just like, that's not enticing at all. I don't know why you need. Oh, fuck. Okay, I'll give you like 10 in a magazine. That sounds reasonable. Then that's what it is. That sounds reasonable. Instead of coming to the table and doing actual gun legislation, they just refuse, and so you're taking your own rights away. And unfortunately, we have stuff like this happen in America because, for some reason, this is acceptable. Easy
And
access
even
to
more
guns
confusing.
is easy access to guns is more important than kids' lives.
Yeah. More confusing to me is the fact that simultaneously they'll cosplay as proponents of police and of the police state and what have you, police uniform, all that stuff, while defending things like ammunition that can pierce their uniform, that pierces their body armor, things like the 223
I
Remington
know.
that can easily botch and go through and sever one's bulletproof vest. That's something civilians need to take down law enforcement? I don't understand it. I thought you liked the police.
I know. It's well, because everyone has then why do you need to get rid of body armor? What? I don't. They didn't get rid of
Yeah,
it. Isn't
why
that
wear
kind of
body
weird?
armor then if you want fucking bullets that pierce them?
I know. What's the? Why are you doing? What's? I'm gonna. Well, you're gonna wear it for what? It's very. You're advocating for the same shit to go through it.
Kind of reductive, isn't
Um,
it?
I am a bit confused, and maybe you could explain this to me. So, well, I'm going to get to this one first. They banned pride flags on the building because, for those of you
Hmm.
longtime viewers, you don't remember the thousands of Omegle debates that I had where people told me they loved Trump because he was the most pro LGBTQ president in American history. I
That was
just
the
want to
claim.
point that out. That was
Yep.
4 years ago, in the most pro LGBTQ president in American history. That was the thing. That was the thing. They said that all the time. For those of you that have been in here and for those of you that have watched for a long time, you 100% know that that's true. And you can go and read articles of people debunking that back in the day because they 100% said it, if you guys don't already remember. And now they're banning the pride flag off of federal buildings. Why? What's the. Just to
No
appease
reason
the,
why.
the nuns?
Yes.
We gotta have a question here though, really quick before I get on to this next story that I am a bit confused about, and so maybe you can walk me through it. How long until this goes to shit? like the federal hiring stuff, they're going to run out of employees. It's going to be just disastrous. Maybe the IRS doesn't even work by the time the year's up. Um, like
I think
just
we're going to start
defunct.
seeing unemployment hitting the fives very soon. Federal employees are out of work. We're seeing migrants being deported in mass numbers this week. I think ultimately people are going to lose jobs at a very quick rate, and it's going to hit a five, if not six or higher. It'll be the first half of the year. I don't know what his approval rating is right now, but I could imagine it'll sink lower than it was at the end of his term very soon.
Yeah, I'm going to give it. Someone they're saying 6 months in the chat. I
I
think
give it
that's
less.
reasonable. I think it's four
I
months.
give it
I think
four.
that might be
Yeah.
reasonable. Might be reasonable, yeah. I just don't see how they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna fire everybody from federal employees. We're gonna end telecommute so that people have to
Hmm.
come back, and they're not coming back. Are they just gonna skeletonize the entire federal government? And then what
That's their
happens?
plan.
You know, I
Really
the
not
thing
breaking the
here is
Project 2025 allegations, by the way.
just to point out, there's gonna be like in the event of Department of Homeland Security, there's gonna be worse shit that happens now. If they're going to
Hmm.
just like get rid of people, they're going to end telecommuting, they're going to try and weed out people over ideological beliefs, there's going to be it's going to be bad. No ifs, ands, or buts. You can't get rid of a workforce like that of people that are qualified to do their job and replace them with idiots and expect it's going to go well. Like what's going to happen within the IRS? I think
Well, they
that's a
don't know.
question. Is the IRS going to even fucking work? Is he just going to
They don't
weaponize it
want
to
it to
go after his
exist.
political opponents? Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. Um, I think Bill actually posted this really nice. Everything Trump did in the first executive orders and actions of his presidency, it's done by AP and it goes through all of them, which is really great. I think it'd be good to do an entire video on it, but we'll see. But this is the one I
There's a
had
lot.
the question on. So House passes immigrant detention bill that would be Trump's first law to sign. But they just signed the Lake
Yeah.
and Riley Act, which expels
Hmm.
criminals from the country, which I don't know why you would want to give them another chance to come back into the country. So in like a year from now, we get to hear stories about criminals that were sent back to Colombia and are now back in the United States because of Trump and are committing more crimes because they deport them. I don't understand. Am I missing something with that law? Because that was my understanding of it. I did a short reading. Are they supposed to serve out their sentence and then get deported,
Yeah, I don't know.
or does it,
Which
or is it just
prison would
straight?
hold them? Would it be a foreign one? The one they're being
No, I
deported
mean
to, or would it be us?
I have to be missing something in this. There's people watching this right now that are like, "Yeah, you're a dumbass." I read through it like
Yeah.
briefly, but I thought that that's what it did. Does anybody know? Any one of my usuals want to come up, like Josh, uh, or Sharon,
For
or
profit prisons.
let me look this up really quick. They will have it's prison labor. I'm so
It tracks.
confused. That does track.
Yep. Slavery's back.
It would
Not
make
that
it
it ever
easier for
really
federal
left.
immigration to detain and deport those without legal status who are charged with crimes ranging from minor theft to assault. The bill, with the support of 46 Democrats, the vote marked a major shift for many in the party. Fucking Democrats.
Hmm.
Okay. The measure directs federal immigration enforcement to detain and deport those with legal status charged with minor theft or shoplifting. Without legal status, okay.
Seems a bit excessive for manual labor in a prison camp.
No.
Say that's a
I
bit
just
of
want
an
to make sure that I get
overcharge.
this right. But yeah, it said that like they could get rid of like deport people that have been charged with crimes, that are whatever, they're small crimes or whatever. Um, this is from Dick Durbin. This bill will not accomplish its stated goal. I'm genuinely disappointed in the passage of this bill and stands deeply concerned about how this will be implemented. Okay, so we'll have to come back to this. But they want to deport people for crimes, and then they just tried to pass this bill in the House, uh, and this is the immigration detention bill. And this one essentially, so this is okay. Do you remember what this bill is about?
This is different from the Lake and Riley Act, isn't it?
I know that, but when I'm reading it, it's telling me that it's the same one. I just want to make sure I'm correct before I tell
I
you
thought it
guys
was the
this.
same one.
Yeah. This is the one story I didn't have time to look up today. I had to pick up baby K from school, so I apologize.
Yeah, this is the Lake and
But
Riley
any
Act.
the one that just passed today?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I did miss that. I thought it was two separate bills. I thought the Lake and Riley
Nope.
Act passed the House.
Yeah, it's the same.
I thought that passed the House already. I swear to God. Did you send me it
I
twice?
thought so too. No, I thought so too. But no, it was the Senate first. So it seems. Bill requires the
That
Department of
passed the other
Homeland
day. All
Security
right,
to
Sharon
detain
seems to know what's going
undocumented
on.
migrants.
I'm seeing
Hmm?
if Sharon knows what's going on. I want to get this clear before I go on in that. Now I'm all confusion.
Well,
Hey
all I
Sharon.
had read was that, hey, all I had read was that the Lake and Raleigh Act had passed the Senate, and that, but they were still going to have to get Congress to fund $100 billion to essentially carry it out. And it's not like we don't already do that. We already deport people who commit crimes. That's
It's
not. I
funny you
mean,
mentioned that.
so,
There's no
yeah, go ahead.
additional new funding that's included in this bill. It's just a set of
Well,
guidelines, but it doesn't imply the exact measures that were given this authority. Just that they
right.
have the authority.
So yeah, it's just exactly.
Okay, so
Kennedy
this is
said
the
it. It's
Lake and
more of a
Riley
problem
Act.
where
This is
there
their
is.
Lake and Riley Act. I swear to God, I read this a few days ago. So did it come? It must have come back to the House.
Unless it had to go back to the House after the committee looked at it and did its finalization, which it could have done in the past couple of days. But even still, I mean, like again, they're making it look like they're doing something when they're not really doing anything. Just like the EOs are a bunch of fluff. They're not. I mean, they still have to go through congressional approval to get funding. They
Right.
still have to. Yeah, it's just a bunch of hoo ha, in my opinion.
I don't understand what's the quantifiable difference. It just tells them to do something that border agents could do anyways.
It makes it look, it's political theater. It makes it look like they're doing something. It's performative, exactly. It's
Hmm.
exactly what they're doing, and that's what's happening in my opinion. And they're doing this with almost everything. Let me ask you guys something. Where have you heard from a reputable news source that they actually carried out and arrested since he's become president, that they've arrested 308 dangerous criminals? And this is per Tom Homan, that's been going on Fox News, and they've been talking about the raids that they're going to have. They talked about the raid they were going to have in Chicago, but you know what we're not hearing about? We're not
The
seeing
raids.
videotapes of it happening. We're not seeing reputable news sources that are saying that it happened. But Tom Homan went on Fox News and said that they took it, one even raped a child, Tommy, and they got them off the street. That was part of the 308 people that they arrested. And I don't. I mean, nobody's reporting on any raids.
Well,
The only
Trump did
numbers
that
I've
too, and
seen
they
out of the
put him in the
last
White
week or
House.
so,
So
it's true. Only numbers
But
I've
when
seen
you,
on border apprehensions themselves were Trump's first 2 days, 766. Biden's last two, 12,000.
oh my
Now, you
God,
can question whether or not this is a reputable source. It is from Fox, but they have Biden up several thousand points over Trump.
just like they're bringing the caravans.
okay,
If you go and look at Fox, caravans coming.
Bay
Predictable.
clarified this. It did have to go back to the House because of the Senate amendment. Okay, that's where the confusion was because I
Okay.
genuinely remember that I read this almost the same article the other day that they passed the Lake and Riley Act, that bill went into place, and that it, I guess, that it like Democrats came across the aisle. It's just a stupid bill. Like I guess if you're in a,
Really
what's the
stupid.
point? I don't. Anyways, did we have any other news to
Pointless
touch up
cruelty.
on today before we move on from the shit show that is the Trump administration?
Let's see. We got the flags. We got the Equal Opportunity Act. I think that's
I
it.
will. I want to say one more thing about the Trump administration. While I don't think that they've done as good a job as I thought they were going to do at getting their stuff passed, and I don't think it's a good job. I think that like what they could have done, they've done a pretty piss poor job so far. It's
Oh
definitely
yeah.
not as scary as I thought it was going to be. It's just a bunch of veiled threats. Um, and we haven't obviously gotten to the brunt of it yet, so we're not sure what their plans are. But in terms of the executive orders and everything like that, like it's just a lot of we're scary. None of it has any
Yeah.
real substance or any real bite
No
yet.
teeth.
It's really going to depend on how they're enforcing it. So while they're very clearly more organized than his first administration, in this one so far, they knew what they were going to do. The question really here is going to be, does this whole bullshit collapse, or does it continue on? And we saw. Did you see the Scaramucci thing? I measure
Uh-uh.
things. So Anthony Scaramucci's like, how long do you think? Someone asked him, how long do you think Musk is going to last? He goes, I measure everything in a Scaramucci, which is 11 days. So, and he says, I think he's going to last 30 Scaramucci's, which is 330 days. And, obviously Musk has an inordinate amount of power over Donald Trump. He has to kind of be buddy buddy with them. I think that what's happening right now, though, is you're getting a lot of the people that are ideologically like Donald Trump, like he did later on in his first presidency. He obviously got impeded by COVID, but there was like tremendous turmoil. Donald Trump is incredibly difficult to work with. We saw people in his own campaign that didn't want him to win, that were operating his own campaign because he's such a nightmare to work with. I think you're going to watch that happen. I think that he's inevitably going to get frustrated at the people that are very clearly calling the shots or organizing, like what's her name, Susie Wiles, or Miller or whatever. I don't think he's going to get mad at Miller. I think Miller knows how to appease him. But I think that he's going to get frustrated that he's being left out of the loop on a lot of this stuff. I definitely think there's going to be incessant infighting, and then it's just going to turn into a shit show. And you start throwing cogs in that machine. Um, Now, I will say he's at the bottom of the barrel for talent. So the scary thing is like the people that are going to come in after this are going to be worse. Whether or not they're competent enough to get done the evil shit
They
they
won't
want to
be.
do, I don't know. But my thoughts are probably it's just going to be a disaster the entire time. Anyways, that's the news. I'll be back on tomorrow to update you guys with it. Make sure you hit the like and share it around. I'm just condensing everything so that everybody can do it like one video. One video because if you're on TikTok, Aaron Parnas, breaking news, like, oh shit, what
Hmm.
now? So I just wanted something where I could just do it daily like that.